Hello everyone, welcome to the first day for our AnyAUT certified developer training. So let's get started. Let's talk about what we're going to do here. So as a prereq to this, watch the orientation session video. We did talk about a lot of things. Primarily, what we are saying is AnyAUT certified developer. Now, we did discuss yesterday as to what some of these points are, how to become a certified developer. Before we can start to develop, we wanted you to understand what who a AnyAUT certified tester is and what skill set they would have at the end of it, the training, or they already come with such kind of a prerequisite skill set. And then as part of the certified developer, we're talking with someone who understands framework concepts well, who understands Java, JUnit, TestNG, Selenium WebDriver, how does Selenium IDE work. All these things, you will have to be I would say somewhere between very good to a master level in these specific skill sets that you see on the screen. If you're not yet, by the time you finish this training and the certification, you will get there for sure. That's how tough this certification is going to be, team. It's not going to be easy. You really need to prove yourself into it. So let's focus more in terms of how we can get there. What is the roadmap? So what we're going to do, team, first of all, get to understand the root cause of AnyAUT. Why is it that we've got to start working on AnyAUT? Why did this application still even exist? What are the fundamental thumb rules for automation? What is it that we expect an automation process to do? Then we will talk about how to build an automation engine for AnyAUT web app, okay, which is a AnyAUT test management. We'll call this as test management, which is our web app. Team, I know we don't have too many audience today. It's not going to be a very long session, but at the same time, I would want it to be interactive, please. For whoever is attending, please try and answer a few questions. It may really add value to it. So we know what an AnyAUT certified developer will be towards the end of this entire training. We know what kind of a skill set. But what it also means is you have the existing prerequisite to be able to start working and looking at programming. Even if you're not, go through the sessions every day. It's about 4 or 5 sessions maximum, and get a good perspective of what we're doing, because this is going to be a benchmark. This is going to be as to how you will look at, okay, this is your final goal. And then you can go back and start looking at, okay, how do I get to this final goal? And we will guide you in the entire process, team. Okay. All right. Perfect. So now let's address these primary things in the first day. And then we will be able to talk about the architecture of AnyAUT and AnyAUT desktop app. So to understand the overall architecture, how is it? This may be more in day 2, and then we will get into take the first look at the code. So this is where we'll start our day 2 with team. Okay, and we have already decided that this is only going to be members only session, team, very specifically. So there's, even in today's session, they're only members. It's not free for everyone. And the reason is very simple. These are advanced training. If you're not part of a Selenium, CSDT or JPact training, or at least a new joinee into it, it wouldn't be a great, it really won't make a big sense for you to be part of this advanced training. That's the reason, team. Okay. All right. So, shall we get started with things then? So, I'm assuming most of you are going to be looking at this video. Treat the videos as always as live sessions. The only primary difference is the fact that you don't get to ask interactive questions, but by the end of it, most of the questions typically get answered. It's the way we present and the way we try and teach team. Okay. So let's go back. Let's go to basics team. Very important. So I'll start with the as to what are the primary pain points. Why is AnyAUT created? Understand the root cause of AnyAUT. Why do you think, team? Do you have something that you believe you want to share at this moment? Because it's more of how I kind of arrived at it and what's the story behind it. Let's do blue. To combine test management and automation tool with built-in keywords. Thank you, Vimala Devi. Very well said. Um, yes, but then that was a solution to opportunity or to an idea that I've seen. Scope of automation in market is very high. Yes, Ragi, that's true. Absolutely. Is the manual process perfect? Yes, that's a big motivator. Scripting is not required if user uses AnyAUT. True. Yeah. So let me go back a few years and explain to you, team. Okay. 2008 is when I started teaching with qtp.elearn, and then I went about with Selenium eLearn. Then we said, let's go with iTeLearn. And at that time, one of the successful reasons why the training became popular was primarily because no one was focusing on automation frameworks in the market. And that's what the industry needed. So I kind of went into a research mode and built the first data-driven, keyword-driven. I seen the automation frameworks that were there earlier, especially in QTP, and then it was primarily a data-driven framework and a keyword-driven framework to a certain extent that was being used, but a very different version. So I went into research mode and I said, okay, I know that this is what the market has, but then what we need within our iTeLearn training is to teach something good. So we went into the research mode team. Rather, at that time, it was just myself. And I said, let's build a new curriculum, let's build a new framework. And we built this hybrid framework, putting things together, how we combined at a code level, and then making it more powerful, more feature rich, and so on. We kept doing this slowly over a period of years. But what happened is I always felt that, let's say you are here, a beginner, okay, and your target is out here, an X. So beginner in automation to an expert in automation. That's what you are. So let's write this maybe as B, okay? An expert. Now, because of this training, I was able to take people till here. Then luckily we added live projects and it further enhanced the skill. But then there was still certain gap in terms of the product itself. I mean, we never went beyond. So then I said, why don't we do something more advanced? So at that point in time, so this is one part of the story, how it kind of AnyAUT kind of came into picture team. At that point in time, I said, okay, fair enough. Let's look at what we do currently with the framework. What we do is an Excel driven. So Excel is here. We load the test cases, test steps, test data, element map, whatever you want, keywords, user defined keywords, everything into an Excel template, write test cases in that template, great. And then our framework was smart enough to understand the format of the Excel. This is one very, very important keyword team. Okay. Framework must understand the MS Excel template. What does that mean? It means that it needs to navigate through the Excel and fetch all the data into the right parameters. Okay. That is one of the most important fundamental things, team, that came up. And then this framework was able to, sorry, Control C, Control C, okay. And then this framework was able to execute this test on multiple browsers, web applications, okay. And this was working fine, team. So the framework was smart enough to interact with that Excel template, and the framework was able to talk with the multiple browsers. Now, how does a typical Excel template look? How do we get that template? So to do that, use your AnyAUT.com/orange account, log in to your dashboard. I'm assuming by now you have implemented AnyAUT on a simple web application that you'll continue to use for practice during certification of developers as well. Okay. So once you are in your dashboard, what you're going to do is, let me zoom out to basic. Let's go to test results, I believe. That's no, test plan here. Export test setup. Whatever is there right now, let's export it. Let's save this. Open. Everyone with me, team? Especially if you're watching this video, stay very focused. This is the most important step to getting to the goal of AnyAUT certified developer team. Very, very critical for each of you to be motivated. Get it within yourself. Focus on this. This is the most important. If you miss this session, everything will be, things won't fit in place for you. Okay. Now, here is the Excel template that has come from the web application team. Okay. Now, at this time, I want you to forget that there is a tool like AnyAUT. All right, forget it. I am a manual tester. Let me write them down as well, team. I don't want any confusion. Let us assume to be a manual QA engineer. Okay, I have nothing to do. We wrote the entire test suite in the Excel format. We should give this name, some name to this, what is an Excel format? So let's assume that all this we created. So what is it that we created? Number one, this Microsoft Excel has multiple sheets. Okay, how many sheets does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now I'm a manual test engineer. The first thing I'm doing is I'm writing down some details about the application. As I'm talking about this, since you already are aware of AnyAUT web application, you can imagine there. All right, the screen that matches this. And what is the screen that matches this, team? Just for information, we go here, test setup, AnyAUT, the application under test, sorry, and here is where you maintain it. Okay, so whenever we're talking about something, look at that. So this is that. Next one is all the modules that we have created out here in the modules. Okay, all these test cases. Now remember, I did mention that you have to assume to be a manual QA engineer, and you wrote this. So while I'm showing you to relate to it, because you've done it this way, do note that assume that we have written all this manually instead of the web UI. Okay, this was the scenario, team. So this is the Excel template. Then each of you, I'm assuming you know what each field is in this. Even if otherwise we'll have to go at length and understand what each field does. We will do that as part of this. User defined keywords, what we have created. Built-in keywords, what the tool already gives. Element identification, any reusable element pages that we have created, any sets of test data that we're using. This is what it is, team. Okay, as simple as that. Now, in the Excel, we know that this is what is there. Now, so far till we launched AnyAUT, what we were doing is we were using this Excel, the one which you just saw. And then we build this beautiful engine. I call this as an engine or a core or a driver. Okay. Driver is more like one script, but the whole thing is an engine team. What it does is it goes to this Excel, looks at what are the different test cases, what are the different test steps, and what it needs to execute. If there is a user defined keyword, be able to expand it from here. If there is a element specifically coming from reusable element, then it should be able to pick up. If it's coming from a reusable test data, then it should be able to pick up from the corresponding sheets. So there is a correlation. And again, mentioning team, if this correlation is still a little confusing for you, totally fine, stay along. By the end of this 4-5 sessions, you will be able to understand that very clearly. Okay. So this specific script understands exactly what to do, how to do, and it will execute it. So till this extent, we were okay. Basic extent, basic framework. So I'm saying how it was during the training days. And then I kept thinking, you know what, I always will wish, instead of managing the test or managing content, if why instead of doing it in an Excel, if we have a web app for it, it would be awesome. A web app, which is like a dream app, that's why I call the dream automation framework, which does exactly what this Excel does much more efficiently, and keeping in mind those three fundamental areas of automation. Anything that we look at, we will have to look at those three thumb rules, team, that we look at automation. I'm sure all of you are aware how I kind of put it to make things easy. ERA is the thing that I use, and it's not an industry word. I just use it every time. It is ERA. So what is E, team? Efficiency. Automation should bring efficiency. That means faster, use fewer resources, costs less. This is what is efficient. It is a financially viable solution. It uses fewer resources, be it human resources or be it machine resources. They still are resources, and it is faster. That is what it is all about. Next is reusability. The fact that how quickly to reuse, maintain, and get the benefits over a period of time. Okay, I thought I'll reduce the content. Reusability is very simple concept, team. It's like, and it's especially festive time in India with Diwali going on, team. So it's like, if it's not reusable, it's like a rocket that we send up in the air with the fireworks, and it's destroyed, and that's about it. It's one-time thing. So the production is different. Reusable is you use the same rocket over and over again. The simplest example in people, if you're not aware of it, is SpaceX. I believe they're the first ones to create reusable rockets. The whole concept of rockets was very simple forever in our technology of human race, was that, you know what, you blast it once, it's all done, satellite is launched, maybe just the shuttle comes back, most of the other things, infrastructure is lost. That's why it was very expensive. And Elon Musk, SpaceX came and said, you know what, let's make reusable. So that's the level of technology and automation that people expect. So, and then is accuracy. And in fact, this should be by, a given necessary. There is no way that of building a rocket which does not go to its destination and do what it does if it is just reusable and efficient. It has to finally meet the purpose. The purpose has to be met. Okay, and it needs to do much better over manual. What it means is, how can accuracy be bad in man? So let's say, okay, let's assume we're a factory worker. We keep on, installing a specific component, let's say headlights for a car. We keep doing it. Out of 100 cars that I do, let's say I'm the one who's doing it. Maybe one car I did it wrong, and then the customer came back and said, hey, you know what, this light's not working. So I'm doing a mistake of 1 in 100, but maybe a robot can do it a 1 in 1,000. It's better. It's not that it does not make mistakes. It makes its average is going to be better. So that is very key, team. These three words is all that you need to remember when we talk about automation. Look at it and evaluate. Anytime you write a script and say, hey, you know what, is it ERA friendly? Is it something that we could really automate, or we should, and so on? What is the best solution for it? Okay. And automation is not something that has come with software testing team. Always remember that automation is the only thing that made us continue to do some things. But the first inventions has been, I don't know if you know, it's camera or telephone team, but the cameras came first, and then the telephone, the electricity. These things are all automation, moving from manual to automation. So as part of this, I kept thinking, what next can we do? What next can we do, and so on. And then we wanted to build this web app, but I didn't have a great story in terms of web app development. I was a very mid-level personally myself, and then I didn't have great vendors. So when I formed Atomic 77 as another partner company, that is when we built the capability, and then we started working on AnyAUT. Okay. So the whole point is, how do we achieve the efficiency, reusability, and accuracy through this new structure and through this new feature that we're adding through the mobile app team. That is what is very important for us. And this is the reason that, which is primarily different team. Okay. So there are two specific aspects of the entire execution that you will see. One second, team. The first is understanding how the interaction is happening from the framework to this Excel or web app. End of the day, there is an Excel right now in between. Will we continue to have an Excel sheet as a medium, or will it move to database? We may move to any format, team. That is something we're taking a conscious decision with Peach development right now. But Excel exporting will be available as a feature. And in fact, even importing is a new feature that we want to bring in. All right. Okay, cool. So the first and foremost important thing, team, is how we write this specific code of interacting between the Excel and the framework. For the framework to understand this Excel, okay, it has to navigate, it has to understand what instructions are there and get ready for it. The second one is in terms of saying how we pass the instructions to the browser to execute them. Understood, everyone? The Excel basically has all the instructions, like here. What does it say? Open a browser, go to a specific website, click find freelancers link on that website, close the browser. Second one is login only. What is login? User defined keyword. We go to user defined keyword sheet, and we see here are the steps to login. Open, go, click somewhere, enter a username, enter password, click on login button. That's it. Till there, login has been created as a reusable component. All right. And then what this does is it has to understand what are the steps. So this understanding of this manual steps has to be done. And then the framework does automation. Automation execution. So basically, how does it execute? The logic there, that becomes very important. This whole thing is the engine driver, team. So there's one part of the code and then the second part of the code. This is very important for us to understand. Is it clear so far, team? Did I skip anything or any questions? I want to make sure that the concept gets very strong into your head, and how did we arrive at a solution for this challenge? This is the challenge team. How do I create the script number 1? And this is what we're talking about. See, how to build an automation engine for AnyAUT test management web app. So we have the web app, we have everything out here, and we have the Excel also. Now, how do we make it understand? That's the first scripting. AnyAUT engine for test management. So as part of this, there are two main program sets. First is read and understand the Excel file. That is what is the first one team. Second thing is execute Selenium WebDriver commands on the browser. That's it. Finally, there's a third part team at the end of it, which is very important, is generate reports. Understood, team? In fact, generate reports also can be under execute Selenium WebDriver. This will be one of the, at last, okay, we generate reports. There's a lot of other steps, sub-steps that we have to do. So now to read and understand that Excel file is the most important concept. Which Excel file should we read and understand? How many types of, how many different Excel files can you download from the web application team? Are there different formats from our test management? We have one export test set up here, correct? Do we have any more, team? Not about .xls or .xlsx. Do we have any other files? Everyone, come on. Here is one Excel sheet, correct? Application and test, modules, test cases, everything that we put is there, correct? But then when we go to our test run setup, select which test cases we want to execute, with what set of test data that we want to do. How do we put that information, team? What happened? Why is test data not getting selected? User management, all. No, yes. Yeah, but this is specific test cases, right? Then I can say yes, and this gets enabled. If I say all test cases also, this should be enabled. Do I have the latest version? Let me do Control F5 once. This is a defect, team. When I say all test cases, this should come up, this should be enabled, and this should be enabled. Can anyone who's working with me in the Peach development log it as a defect, please? Who can do it? Oh, you already did it, Meghna. Thank you so much. 1 second, team. I'm going to take this call. One quick minute. All right, let's get going now. So this Excel that you have is one Excel team which has everything that we have created. Okay, so remember this point. There is the entire test management. Let's use a different color. Okay, sorry, I'm taking a lot of time for choosing the color itself, but this is very important to visually present it, team. That's the reason I'm doing it. So let's assume AnyAUT, okay, is this circle. Whatever you have implemented as part of the assignments in the AnyAUT certified tester training, the same things you can use to evaluate. So this circle represents your total implementation. All your test cases, all your user defined keywords, element maps, test steps, everything that you have done is here, team. The test setup part of it. Okay. Now, when we do regression testing, what is regression testing, team? As part of regression testing, there is also functional testing, performance testing, mobile testing, and so on. But we are focused on functional testing, functional regression testing. So what is regression testing, team? It is retesting, repeating a test. Right, everyone? Can everyone hear me? I'm back. Just want to make sure that you're all back as well. Thank you. All right, cool. So regression testing is basically saying that, hey, for version 1, we had to run 100 test cases. Now for version 1.1, we are deleting certain scope, so -10, and then we are adding some new scope, +20, plus we are adding some changes also, so plus another 15. Now for 1.1 execution, how long will it take? Not only should we do what we have added new, the plus ones, which is plus 35, we also have to test the old functionality, which is 135. It becomes how much, team? Can someone answer this for me? What's the total? Fast, everyone. Seeing how many mistakes we made, because first attempt I made a mistake, so I thought let me ask the audience. Yeah, I don't think I made that mistake. Okay, so let's see. 100 minus 10, 90, plus 20, 110, plus 15, 125. That's it. Okay, right? So you still need 125 hours to execute it, team. Now the beauty of automation is that we can automate it, everything. Right now let's look at an AnyAUT manual test suite. Okay, this is manual test suite. In this, for version 1, you're doing this entire execution, right? But sometimes there's no time, team, a lot of times, and you just want to execute this. You don't want to execute everything right now because the timing is not fantastic for that. Okay. I'm taking time choosing colors also now. So we'll just say that, hey, this I want to execute this only, or I just want to execute this portion of it. This is all I want to do. So then we'll say, okay, you know what, let's choose that functionality here. Maybe there's some overlapping things also, and let's execute. So for the complete manual test suite, we get one Excel file. And then for selecting and choosing what we want to execute during a specific run is this another Excel file. Clear, everyone? So there are two Excel files, team. One that we export from the test plan that gives everything that you saw right now. The second is when we create a specific test run setup with saying that, hey, I want to execute this test case, and here is the set of test data that I want to use, and I don't want to execute this test case. Let me take this up. And in here, I want to execute specific ones, and here maybe I'll say whatever, couple of them, and yes to this, and let's say I just have one, and say save test run setup. I give it a name. I'll call this as AACD underscore OCT underscore 1. Okay, and say save test run setup. Then go to test run. You will see your test run created here, and then you click on download. This downloads the Excel file that goes to the engine. So there is one Excel file that is there here for the entire manual test suite, and then there's another Excel file that is coming for what we want to execute. Okay. Now for the Selenium web engine, we felt that the first Excel is not related because we're not going to do anything on it. Why don't we just focus on what we want? And then what we said is that the web application itself, when the download is clicked, automatically, what happened? I clicked on the download, right? Maybe it did download. 1 second, team. Okay, so I did download. Not sure it's there or not. Come on. View details. What's today's date? 10/19. Okay. There you go. So we have two Excels, team. Oh, this is 4:21 a.m. Why does it say 4:21 a.m.? So this is the name that I gave. Let's open this and see, team. Okay, cool. Whoa, this is not correct at all. A lot of defects still pending. Test cases, test steps. So we did select a few test data sets, right? Why are they not displaying here? Test data not appearing. And we noted that also down. There's one session that, okay, Meghna, but we also have to mention the other defect. I assume someone else did that. The other defect is in the web UI, where we are unable to select test data for all test cases. All right, cool. So yeah, there's definitely, this is a major error, and I don't know why this has not been fixed yet, because I keep getting daily updates. Okay, we'll figure that out. So here is how we look at the things, team. This Excel is slightly different from the first Excel. It primarily has one specific column called execute. Are we executing everything in it or nothing in it, or a few things only? Which modules are we executing? So I selected yes. That means that we're executing few modules within that specific, a few test cases within that specific module. So the ability to choose what we want to do can be done in a very systematic manner by saying which modules, which test cases, and what test data you want. Keywords and test and element map will be linked automatically. Test data can be changing more frequently. Understood, team? So for those of you, okay, this is one important concept that you also have to understand. So far, so good, everyone. Please keep confirming any question, even the smallest. I won't take your name out as well. Just ask that, please. Whatever question you have. Okay, cool. Now, here is the concept that you need to master, team. Understand this, okay? Let's talk about software testing again. See how much we're talking about software testing in general and automation, because AnyAUT is built on all these concepts that we're talking, and that's the strong belief that this product, if it does what we want it to do, should be a good product in the market. There's a lot of plans and scope, team. And I'm assuming about 70-80% of you are already in the Peach development team, and that's why I thought that this should be the suitable time to do the classes as well. Sorry for those of you missing it out. Okay, let's understand a test step. Any test step. At the end of it, everything breaks down into one step. And that one step basically asks questions as to what is it that you want to do? Where is it you want to do? There is also when you have to do and so on. Now, what is primarily the keyword that we call? We have built-in keywords, which are things like click on a link, open browser, and so on. Then we have user-defined keywords, which once someone registers for AnyAUT, starts implementing a project for their application, and at that time they realize that, hey, you know what, I want to also do um, combine these steps into something reusable. They say that, okay, here's my keyword for my application that is pertaining to their application. This is for all applications, and this user defined keyword is specifically for that specific account. It's only, so this is common built-in keywords. Okay, where is primarily how we go about identifying which button to click on, which link to click on, and so on. For that, we use element identification, and that's what is the core of Selenium WebDriver. Selenium WebDriver is nothing but a small tool or a piece of code, which is basically a jar file for us in Java, which helps us to send instructions to browsers. It launches WebDriver browser, and then it will send instruction to say what it has to do on the page. Okay, so that where becomes critical team. The where is primarily element identified, and either we have a one-time use, like I just want to enter the next path, or I know linked text. I'm not going to keep reusing. ERA for this activity is low. This element is not being used very often. Or, there are elements that we keep using very often, or they keep changing often. So it's better to keep them in one place. So any changes happen, we'll change it in that common place. Automatically, it will get reflected wherever it gets used. That is the advantage. I'm hoping, team, every statement that I'm speaking is a great summary of what we've been learning for a long time. And it's solidifying your total concept together. Okay. So then we said there may be a reusable element also. So far, so good, everyone. Get this here. I'm just trying to keep asking that question because it becomes very important. Now, then comes the test data. Test data is what, team? Test data means sometimes to perform a task, we need some information. Now, let us say I give you Bank of America account and say, go test it. Why forget about Bank of America? The other day, our own iTeLearn e-commerce page was not working. There was some issue with it. What kind of an issue was it? One of the students who wanted to pay urgently was not able to pay because it was not happening. Now, I asked my team, did you test it? They said yes, but then how will we test it with a credit card? Where are the details for the credit card? If I don't give them the credit card details, they cannot test to see if it is working or not. Correct? So they need information, they need test data. And even I won't have it. I have to look at my wallet, take the card out and do it. I said, let me try at mine. And I did it because I wanted to see how the process works again. Once again, we're trying to improve the whole operations here, team at iTeLearn. So that becomes very critical, team. What test data? Again, test data could be something like a browser name. It could be URL. It could be my email address, my password. It could be my bank account detail. It could be a home address. It could be a detail about my car, anything. All this information becomes your test data. So test data also can be used one time. I just say, like, the URL is google.com, the username, or gmail.com, let's say. Username is Karthik Kosireddy. Password is so and so. I don't even remember. So, and you just want to put it and do it because you're not going to keep using the same information again and again, or it won't change. But once you think that you may repeat or reuse that information, and it makes better sense to keep it as a shared one, Then we make it reusable. Reusable primarily means, team, that you create it at one common place and it gets distributed to any of the test steps which want to use. That is the same thing with reusable. These two do the same thing. Okay. Now, this is what a test step does, team. And for automation also, these are very critical. Both in manual or automation, this is sufficient enough. So in the web application, that is how exactly we went about creating our reusable components. We said, hey, here is an element map. Even before starting, first let's set up everything. This is where it should start for a new user. Are there elements that you use regularly? Here is test data. Here is user defined keywords if the user has defined any keywords, and here are the built-in keywords. Okay, team, 1 second. All right, sorry team, I'm back. Yes, so all these things are the ones which we have kind of put into the system. Now, when we export it, accordingly, in that Excel sheet, we come up, the first one which contains everything, we come up with all the details on it. Okay. When we said that we want to work on a few test cases or a few modules only for this specific execution, always remember, team, there is creation and then this execution, two main things in any kind of a estimation or effort. Effort time equals creation time plus execution time. So how long did it take for us to create this entire test suite, and how long is it taking for us to execute? So when we're talking about the execution, we're choosing specific ones to execute. So in the modules, we're saying test cases, we're saying which is selected and so on. Here is the defect. It is supposed to have the test data sets that we selected. It did not, it does not have it. Then the test steps. Test steps, everything is split into what is the manual description of it, and then the specific text. Keyword type, keyword value. Element type, element value. Element ID, and then element by and ID. There are two sets of information here that we need to send. How are we trying to identify the element and what is the value for it? Now, team, let me ask you this question. How many of you are still not comfortable with identifying elements? I'm not saying that you're at 100%. Even 80% is good. We're not talking about complex situations and where you need to use regular expressions or any kind of coding. No. Team, is everyone comfortable? 80%? All right. Because if not, you have to go back and re-watch those videos, team, for element identification. It is one of the easiest videos that you need to watch. There's no question about it. Okay. Now, this values in test data, what is the type? Reusable or one-time use, and what is the value? Is what becomes the most important aspect for the automation team. So what does the first script primarily do? Okay. What do you think, team? Layman terms, let's write. We have this Excel sheet. We want to understand how to execute it. This Excel sheet where we wrote exactly which test cases and so on. So first, read the Excel. I don't even have to write first. Read the Excel. So what do I mean by reading the Excel team? And then it will become very easy for us to go to the code and look at it. What do we mean by reading the Excel? Whatever data is there, data also called as content. Okay, I don't want this data to be confused with test data. Must be read into the program. Now, if we read something, what's the next question, team? What's the next question? Come on, everyone. Be active, please. Writing is towards the end, team. If you're reading something, you have to store the Excel. Now, in the program, where will you store an Excel sheet? One option that we're currently doing at least is store into two-dimensional arrays. And S I'm putting is uppercase because there are multiple. Each sheet has got columns and rows. Correct, team? We have all these columns, we have all these rows here. Now, how many rows are there in this sheet? Can someone tell me, please? Number of rows in this sheet. 5. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many columns do we have? 6. So this becomes a 5 by 6 matrix or a table. Okay, it becomes a 5 by 6 matrix or a table. And it's just got two things, rows and columns. So since it's got two things, it becomes a two-dimensioned two-dimension entity. Okay, it has rows and columns, just like our apartments that we see. We have floors and we have unit numbers. So 304 means we know it's on the third floor, fourth house. That's how we kind of evaluate. And we know it's the same thing with our homes. When we say our home number, the next number, let's say ours is 46, the next number is 47. So it is organized in a specific way. The same thing with our rows out here. They're organized in specific way. The organizing of these things is very critical, team. How we've organized in terms of where is module ID, where is test case ID, and so on. That should never be lost. Always remember that, team. What does the first row have? The first row has the names of that column. What content is there in that column? So if we have these content in these columns, then I will be able to read them as text and put it in Java as two-dimensional array of type string. Now, then comes the question, how good are your data types in Java? If you're not good at Java data types, now is a good time to go back and look at those freely available videos, not freely, at least access with you, for you all, that's available with our core Java. Okay, learn about data types. What are they? Now, what are we talking about data type? Which data type? String. What is a string, team? Anything alphanumeric that you put into double quotes becomes a string. Right, everyone? Anything that can be a number, it can be a name, it can be an email address, it can be a password with all the crazy signs. Anything you put into double quotes becomes a string. It is taken as is. Okay? And it is put into the variable team. So that value that you put here, like x1 b hash, okay, that is a value in it. Everything here is similar to that. There may be certain times where there's only a number there, or text only, or an integer or double. Don't worry. because once we read the Excel into the script, it gets into a two-dimensional array. Now we can also read. Here is a question now. Do we need a database? There should be a strong reason why a database is required. Let me ask you this question. Are we trying to learn AnyAUT Orange as part of certified development or AnyAUT Peach? There is difference. We're trying to learn the Orange version team right now. AnyAUT Peach is under development. Once it is developed, the next one training we'll do will be on AnyAUT Peach. In that time, we can say clearly why we have done this change, why we have not done this. So we will focus on learning what is there right now. It will help us to build a better Peach version. Fair enough, everyone? But suggestions as we get, I'll put it here so we remember it. Okay, so do we need a database? Important question. So we'll keep that there. Now, this two-dimensional arrays, how many two-dimensional arrays do we require? Ideally, we require for everything. Automation, AnyAUT application, you may want to have it for everything. So how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 sheets. At the maximum, for sure, we require 8 two-dimensional arrays. Sorry team, 1 second. Sorry team for the calls. It's Diwali, right? So a lot of calls coming in and a lot of things going on. All right, thank you. Sorry for the deviation. So at the maximum, we will read 8 two-dimensional arrays. So stored into two-dimensional arrays, we need 8 two-dimensional arrays to read. Okay, and store. Now that this information is there, we can do certain thing. Reading is done. What is understanding this Excel team? What is understanding this Excel? What is our end objective? End objective is to execute automation commands on the web application that we see. Correct? Whatever be the commands, I have to execute. So to understand, we need to understand the first thing is identify what are the commands to be executed. Of course, important to do each test case in the right order of test steps. This is most important statement. There is no way. Am I on mute, team? Can you all hear me? Yes, right? Sorry, someone was saying I guess you're on mute, so I was a little surprised. Okay, understanding the Excel, store the Excel. Okay. Each test case in the right order of test steps. What this primarily means is if my test case, let us say this test case number 5 has specific steps. Let's see what steps are there. Or there are no steps for test case number 5. Test case number 4 has steps. Or 5 has one step, which is go to sign up page. Okay. In this case, I have to go here and find out because it is user defined keywords. So I have to go here. But let's see the 001. Here it says open browser, navigate, click, verify text. So I cannot click before opening the browser. I cannot verify text. So that order has to be maintained. The reason I'm emphasizing this and saying again is when we go to the new architecture, especially the database, we need to have unique identifications. It's just not going to be one. It'll be something like M004 underscore this underscore 1 and so on. As soon as we look at the step ID identification, we should know exactly what it is. It does not have to be a user friendly from a view perspective because the user won't see, but at a program end, it will be clear for us as to how we communicate with between each program. Okay, so that becomes very important for Peach team. Naming of variables and variables, functions, everything. Functions, everything. Okay, what else is there? Programs, jars, exe files, everything that we do. Okay, so this is again another important one. I'll try and mark them team in a different color so it'll be easy for us to remember. Okay, I know team, I think it's already 1 hour plus into the class, and classes, yes, you're right. Actually, no, I missed classes here. Let's take some Q&A and go. What I'm trying to do, team, is the way it will navigate is first, where will it go? Which two-dimensional array will it open? This one, or this one, or this, or this. Where does it start? At the very beginning. Okay, and that will be at a module level, team, for Orange. It says which modules are selected, yes, and we know that we're starting execution for test cases in that module, either all the test cases or specific ones. Okay, and then test cases and then test steps. This is it. Modules, test cases, test steps. In fact, modules also not necessary. Test case, test steps. In the next session, right, which is tomorrow, team, what we will talk about is what happens next after this. There will be another sheet that will get generated, team, in between, and that sheet will look something like this. That's it. It will just at the end have two things, team. What are the test cases? It does have the module details, test case ID, description, and so on. And then what are the test steps to be executed? Wherever we used a reusable one or one time whatever, the exact value is put here. There is no longer a variable here. The exact test data set is chosen. The values from there are taken and put here. This becomes the output of the first program, team. This then goes, just these two sheets, as the input to the second program, and when it executes, it gives us a result. It looks exactly very similar to the earlier one. It'll just have one sheet. It says which test cases and so on, what test step, what did we do, did it pass or fail? If it failed, why did it fail? Where is the screenshot, and so on. Okay, and that becomes the result file, and the same result file is also showcased in an HTML format using graphs and clear presentations and so on. For this, we are right now using extent reports. There are few glitches with extent reports. It basically does not let you control everything exactly. So how do we present this data that we have in the best possible format is the other big feature that we're gonna add into Peach development. So team, I'm good at my end. I'm gonna give a pause for 30 seconds and let you all ask questions, whatever question you have. Today's the first session. Tomorrow we'll get deeper. Every day it will become more and more important. So we are understanding the basis of how we created this team, not how we should have created. But the beauty in our current situation is we are doing this training exactly between two versions. Orange is almost there. I keep saying almost there because I don't think there are issues, team, still. I don't know, we fix one, we break one. Sorry, maybe that's why we need to take a deeper look into it as to how do we ensure Orange is stable, and then do we improve Orange or do we just focus on Peach, things like that. We'll do mix and match about it. What is critical is for you to understand the concept and the reason how we are building each and everything. And with this, you being exactly between orange development and orange going production and peach development starting, you can start to come up with more and more inputs, team. And I'm really looking forward for all of you to provide those inputs. That becomes very important. All right. Any questions, team? I'm going to be on mute and pause the recording for 30 seconds. Any questions? I'll be glad. So team, just one question for the day that I've received. Isn't this more of keyword-driven framework, Karthik? Yes, it is more of keyword. I can't say, is it more of keyword-driven or more of test data? It has got everything. You have to know what to use it, how to use it, what to use it for, and how to use it, depending on the client requirements. It's like saying almost like, it's a very powerful car. Yes, and it's got too many features, not necessarily that we use all of them. This has focused on keyword, data-driven, and page object model factories. All right, thank you everyone. Let's see tomorrow then, and we'll continue. And it's going to be maybe our first look at some of the code that we've done. Let's try and understand from how we think as a developer, how we approach it. Then we'll see how we wrote it. Take care everyone. Bye now. Bye all.